Hey folks, what's up? Ehren here, Canada. We've got great news. Brand new format. All English, all the time. Getting rid of the translators, they're hard to listen to. Getting rid of the House Speaker, he's hard to listen to. We want to hear the politicians, right? And that's what we'll be doing. A little bit of extra information about each MP, a little bit of humor, more information in a shorter period of time, making Canadian politics fun again. I think that you'll enjoy it. It flows very smoothly. Check it out. Here's an episode. Hey everybody, what's up? Ehren here, Canada. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be an exciting episode. They've all been exciting lately. All the politicians' tempers are boiling over. They're going at it, throwing insults back and forth, slinging mud. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to jump straight into the episode. I know Trudeau is in the House today, so that should give Poilievre somewheres to throw his insults. It'll be fun. Let's get going. Kick it off. Canada.
Questions, questions orales, l'honorable chef.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the division after 8 years. Panicking under pressure from MPs in a region where he's plummeting in the polls, he'd paused the tax for some people in some places, but his minister said that other people should have voted Liberal if they wanted the same break. Now the panicking Prime Minister is further dividing the country with the confirmation from his Environment Minister that he's now in a coalition with the Bloc, the Separatist Party. So we have a costly carbon tax coalition that includes the Separatists. What did he promise the Separatists to get them to sign on to keeping him in power for 2 more years?
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Only division in this country as to whether or not we should be doing everything we can to fight climate change is within the Conservative Party. The Canadians are unequivocal that we need to fight climate change and we need to support Canadians through that. That's why our price on pollution returns hundreds of dollars every 3 months to the average family of 4 while fighting climate change and watching our curve bend faster over the past 2 years than the other G7 countries. We will continue to hold Canadians together as we fight climate change while Conservatives continue to bring us backwards.
Hear, hear.
And so it begins. Trudeau seems to have a little fire in him today. Poilievre always does. Let's go.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's own Environment Commissioner confirmed he will not hit his own targets, and the Prime Minister has admitted that his carbon tax is not worth the cost for oil-heated homes. Now, he did that to save his political hide, but his desperation went one step further this week when he relied on the Separatists to vote with him to quadruple the tax on home heating for everyone else in Canada. So the question is very clear. What did he promise the Separatists to get their support to save his political hide and quadruple his tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, no matter how much the Conservatives try to deny it, every single day in this country, we get closer to never using coal to generate electricity again. And now, Mr. Speaker, we're choosing to phase out home heating oil, which is dirtier, more expensive, and disproportionately relied on by lower-income Canadians. The Conservatives may try to make up all the stuff they like, but the reality is replacing home heating oil is good for Canadians when we put in heat pumps, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Like a unicorn, I'm waiting for my free heat pump to fall from the sky. Are you going to get one? They keep going at it.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, he hasn't eliminated coal-fired electricity. He hasn't eliminated oil-powered heating in homes, and his carbon tax will not allow him to meet his own GHG targets, according to his Environment Commissioner. Now, that is the reality, that his carbon tax is not worth the cost. And that's why people, all 10 premiers, Conservative, Liberal, and NDP, are calling for him to take the tax off so Canadians will keep the heat on. Will he be fair to all Canadians, or will he sign on with the Separatists to divide our country some more?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I have to admit I'm a little worried for the Leader of the Opposition. When he has to stoop to bringing up the separatist boogeyman to try and scare Canadians, he must be running out of material. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are afraid of climate change. They're afraid of the extreme weather events. They're afraid of the concerns we have about a brighter future. And what we are doing is fighting climate change every day while we build a stronger economy with greater careers, while we support Canadians every single day with the high cost of living. This is what we're delivering. He has no plan to fight climate change, no plan for the future of the economy, no plan for Canadians.
So up next was Jagmeet Singh, who's been the leader of the NDP party since 2017. But he chose to use the translators, so he's out of here. Up next, Trudeau and Poilievre back at it. They go head-to-head a lot. It's fun. Did you know this? Poilievre has been in the House of Parliament since 2004. That's a long time.
Then I have Chef.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Most tragic and heartbreaking to see these two squabbling in this way. The Prime Minister was so disappointed in the NDP leader's flip-flop on carbon tax for heat, but the good news for the Prime Minister is the NDP leader has flip-flopped on his flip-flop and now supports the Prime Minister's plan to quadruple the tax. This, with 2 million Canadians, a record-smashing number going to a food bank. Will the Prime Minister create another carve-out on the carbon tax for farmers so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We know, Mr. Speaker, that farmers are always focused on being good stewards of the land, and we are working with them in investing, in supporting them in many different ways to ensure that we can continue to put good quality, affordable food on people's tables right across the country, and that's what we're going to continue to do, Mr. Speaker. Farmers and indeed Canadians from coast to coast to coast know that as we fight climate change, as we put more money in people's pockets every 3 months with hundreds of dollars with the pollution price return, we're going to continue to step up in building a strong economy for tomorrow, something the Conservatives simply don't understand.
So we're set up here for a real back and forth between Trudeau and Poilievre. They go back and forth a number of times. I've never seen it go this many times in a row. First time for everything.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is quadrupling his carbon tax on the farmers who make the food, quadrupling the tax on the truckers who ship the food, therefore quadrupling the tax on all who buy the food. Good news is there is a common sense Conservative bill that's passed through the House and in the Senate where the Prime Minister's senators are holding it up. Will the Prime Minister once again cave and allow another carve-out on the carbon tax for farmers? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Many people living in rural areas across the country, including many farmers, continue to be stuck heating their homes with home heating oil. It is dirtier, it is more expensive, and it is something that is expensive to replace. That is why, Mr. Speaker, we are stepping up with measures that are going to deliver heat pumps to families right across the country, the 1.2 million households across this country, in every part of this country, relying on home heating oil, so we can help them fight climate change and save money at the same time. That's our plan. The Conservatives have no plan.
So I guess Poilievre didn't get his answer there. He comes back asking a very similar question.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Our common sense plan is found in Bill C-234, which would give another carve-out to farmers on the carbon tax. And the Prime Minister has claimed that he won't cave again. He says there will be no more carve-outs. We're asking him to keep in mind there are 2 million people who have to go to the food bank every month because of his policies. Will he put his ego and pride aside and ask his Liberal senators to pass Common Sense Bill C-324 to axe the tax and create a carbon tax carve-out for our farmers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, farmers across this country know the costs of climate change. They know the costs of extreme weather events, whether it be floods or fires or more intense storms. Farmers are worried about their future, worried about their kids' future, worried about the country's future. That's why we put forward a plan that is reducing our emissions and growing our economy at the same time while putting more money in Canadians' pockets. The Conservatives have no plan to fight climate change, no plan for the future of the economy, no plan for future generations. We will continue to do what's necessary to support Canadians, including farmers, long into the future. That's it.
When it comes to asking Trudeau questions, if at first you don't succeed, try again. That's what you have to do.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister won't answer a simple question. It's about the common sense Conservative bill to carve out farming from the carbon tax. But I understand why he feels he's in a bind, because his Environment Minister said, as long as I am Environment Minister, there will be no more exceptions to carbon pricing. That implies that he would resign if there was another carve-out. Will the Prime Minister sacrifice his crazy carbon tax minister and support our common sense bill to take the tax off?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think we'll all be waiting for a long list of corrections and factual errors from the Leader of the official opposition if we go down this road. The fact of the matter, Mr. Speaker, for millions of Canadians who understand that climate change poses an existential threat to our country, to our well-being, to our economy, they need action. They expect a government with a plan. They expect a government to deliver on that plan, and that is exactly what we have been doing for 8 years. Meanwhile, the only plan the Conservatives put forward are cuts. Cuts to services, cuts to program, cuts to rebates for Canadians, and yes, cuts to the most successful measure to reduce climate change emissions that this country has ever seen. When is he going to come forward with a real plan?
I won't say when, but in one of these next segments, Trudeau really does go over the edge, further than I see him push it most of the time. So stick around, they're still going at it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It is crazy to quadruple the carbon tax on our farmers when 2 million people are going to a food bank every month. So now the Minister of the Environment has threatened to resign if there are new carbon tax carve-outs. We have a common sense Conservative bill that would carve out the carbon tax for farmers. All it needs is for the Prime Minister to give his senators permission to pass it. Will the Prime Minister please just cave at least one more time and allow a carve-out on the carbon tax for our farmers, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I won't use the word crazy, but I will say it is deeply, deeply irresponsible for the Conservative Party of Canada continue to deny that taking action against climate change is important, to continue to deny that climate change is a real threat to Canadians and to our economy. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, we have put forward measures that both fight climate change and put more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadian families, and we're going to continue to fight climate change because the cost of inaction against climate change is far more than the cost of action.
Justin Trudeau can dodge a question as easily as blinking his eyes.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Tax isn't working. He's missed every single target. He's on track to miss his 2030 targets, and Canada is ranked 58th out of 63 on climate action. Mr. Speaker, the question is about our farmers. There's a bill C-234, a common sense Conservative bill to carve out farmers from the carbon tax. All it needs is for the Prime Minister to give his senators permission to adopt this carve-out. Will the Prime Minister stand up to his Environment Minister and stand up for farmers and let Bill C-234 pass and allow this carve-out to go ahead?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I will admit, it doesn't happen often, but every now and then, I am a little bit envious of the position that the Leader of the Opposition finds himself in, of being able to criticize on the one hand that we aren't doing enough to fight climate change, and then on the other hand say that we need to stop everything we're doing to fight climate change. Fortunately, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are smarter than he takes them for. Canadians know the only way to build a strong economy for the future is to fight climate change at the same time. That is exactly what we are doing, and until he puts forward a plan that is responsible and real on fighting climate change and growing the economy, Canadians will continue to dismiss him.
That's right.
Poilievre and Trudeau aren't done with each other yet. They have unfinished business. But up next is Jagmeet Singh. He seems to not realize that he's in a coalition with this guy, with Trudeau. It's strange every time they argue. I find it really, really weird. Here, let's look.
From Burnaby South.
People are struggling to find a home they can afford. And this federal government has the power, the land, and the resources to end the housing crisis. On one side, we've got the corporate-controlled Conservatives that want to sell off our public land to their rich investor friends. That helps no one. But on the other side, we've got Liberals who are openly admitting that their plan is to use public lands to build luxury homes. How can this Prime Minister justify using public lands to build homes that people can't afford?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that's simply not true. We know Canadians are worried about paying their rent, finding an apartment, or buying a home. That's why we're working on affordable housing and affordable housing affordability right across the country. It's why we put forward the Affordable Housing and Groceries Act, which helps build more affordable apartments by cutting the GST on construction. Housing advocates and developers have described this move as a game changer that will get more affordable housing built. It's why it's essential that all members work with us to move these important measures forward.
Do you find it strange when Jagmeet and Justin fight like that? I find it really weird. Don't they know they're on the same team? Coalition government? Anyhow, Heather McPherson is up next. She's an MP, NDP, from Strathcona, Edmonton, Alberta. Finger wagger.
The honourable member from Edmonton Strathcona.
Every single Canadian deserves to have health care when they need it. Public, universally accessible health care. But the Conservative leader, Danielle Smith, just got caught trying to make health care more chaotic and more bureaucratic. She is not hiring more health care workers, not treating health care workers with respect, and leaving the door wide open for more privatization. Sound familiar? This is right out of the Conservative playbook. Yes. And on the Liberals' watch. Why are the Liberal government sitting on their hands while Alberta has their health care privatized?
So I will allow the Right Honourable Prime Minister to respond to this question.
Mr. Speaker, it is a relevant question because we have taken actions in the past to draw back transfers and claw back transfers to provinces that haven't been obeying the Canada Health Act, and we will continue to do that. So let me be clear, we will always defend Canada's access to health care and won't hesitate to use all available tools under the Canada Health Act to protect this right. We expect all provinces and territories to adhere to the Act when they make decisions regarding Canadians' access to health care. The Minister of Health will be closely reviewing the details of the Alberta Premier's plan, but we remain unequivocal when it comes to access to our healthcare system and access to pension supports. We will always stand with Canadians.
Guess who's back? Guess who's up next? Pierre-Poilievre. He's our favorite, right? He's the most entertaining of these guys, for sure. He gets Trudeau going, and they keep going and going.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, with or without glasses, I will not lose $54 million on an app that doesn't work. Now, this is a Prime Minister whose government is now under RCMP investigation for giving out contracts to firms that did absolutely no work. Now senior members of the bureaucracy are blowing the whistle and saying his top officials lied about it before committee. Will the Prime Minister personally cooperate with the police in this latest criminal investigation?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can't help but wondering how many millions of dollars Canadians would have lost if they had followed the Leader of the Opposition's advice and bought Bitcoin so they could opt out of inflation. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to serious matters, both the RCMP and CBSA's Professional Integrity Division are investigating. The CBSA has also launched an internal audit to look into contracting at the agency and has increased oversight processes when it comes to the contracting.
So Poilievre won that round for sure. He's always funnier. His jokes strike better. He's got more wit than just about the rest of them, I think. Definitely more than Trudeau.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the former director of CBSA, our principal border authority, said that he felt incredibly threatened, those were his words, by the former president of the organization. And senior bureaucracy, members of the Prime Minister's bureaucracy, are to have lied, according to this testimony, in order to cover up this $54 million scandal. The matter is now under Auditor General and RCMP investigation. Will the Prime Minister cooperate with the police, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, obviously the reports coming out are extremely concerning, and I know that the respective authorities will be taking this extremely seriously. We expect our professional public servants to always conduct themselves with the utmost integrity, and I'm sure that will continue to happen.
They're getting into the tall grass now, guys. They're really scrapping. You can tell that Trudeau is getting wound up. He's getting cross.
Position.
Well, the entire government only takes direction from a guy who has 2 convictions for breaking the law, Mr. Speaker. And in this case, it's not just $54 million. There's $11 million given to a two-person IT firm to do absolutely nothing. The same firm has gotten $60 million from this Liberal government since 2017 alone. The entire matter is under criminal investigation, so for a third time. Will the Prime Minister personally cooperate with the police, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
You can understand that I won't take overly seriously the accusations from an individual who was Minister of Elections when he was found to break elections law. Mr. Speaker, when we see matters of wrongdoing, we ensure that proper authorities are looking into it, and of course our government will always ensure full cooperation with investigating authorities.
Hear, hear.
Okay, so Trudeau did pretty well on that one. The crypto thing, that's gonna haunt Poilievre forever. That will always follow him around. Let's see where it goes next.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister is a man of conviction. He's got 2 of them, Mr. Speaker. Actually doubled the amount of money spent on outside consultants after promising to bring it down. When we pressured him on this, he said, I know what I'll do. I'll pay $670,000 to another consulting firm to find out how we can spend less money on consulting firms. Here's some free common sense advice. And will he take it? Why not just stop spending on juicy contracts for his friends?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, of course, we need to ensure that we're getting the best value for funds spent in the public service, and the Minister agrees and is looking into it. But Mr. Speaker, let's talk about being a person of conviction. I am convinced that we need to fight climate change. I am convinced that the only thing we can do to build a strong economy for the future is protect the environment and fight climate change while putting more money in people's pockets. These are my convictions, and I've continued to be consistent on them over the past 15 years I've been in politics. We look forward to hearing what the Leader of the Opposition believes in, because right now it sure ain't clear.
Again, Poilievre got the better of those swings. Trudeau was sassy, he came back with some energy. But they go again, guys. It's been head-to-head. This is a pretty crazy Question Period Canada episode.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Recording of a top Liberal government official reveals that the billion-dollar green fund the Prime Minister is running is not worth the cost or the corruption. Some extracts from that recording. It was free money, sponsorship-level kind of giveaway. And I quote, "Since the Prime Minister learned of these allegations in March, he hasn't fired a single solitary person. This is a billion-dollar slush fund. Is he worried about firing the insiders because he doesn't want them to blow the whistle on this broader Liberal scandal?"
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, earlier this year, I said was made aware of allegations of mismanagement at SDTC. The Auditor General has now decided to conduct an audit of SDTC, and our government has been working closely with them on this and welcomed the decision. In addition, SDTC has agreed to enable a thorough third-party review of the allegations regarding HR management, and we're committed to ensuring organizations which receive federal funding adhere to the highest standards of governance.
So it gets pretty easy for Poilievre here. These next couple of questions, they're about scandals, and he has so many to choose from. Trudeau's been a bad boy.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Is a billion-dollar taxpayer-funded slush fund that top officials now say amounts to a sponsorship scandal kind of corruption. It says they were giving away free money. This at a time when a record-smashing 2 million people are forced to food banks every month, when 9 out of 10 people can't afford homes. How could the Prime Minister have thought it appropriate to blow $1 billion when Canadians cannot afford to eat, heat, or house themselves?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to be perfectly clear. Any allegation of wrongdoing in any government department must be fully investigated. There are established processes for situations such as these, and this is precisely why the Auditor General has made the decision to conduct an audit. This is a serious situation, and we are taking it with the seriousness which it requires. Unfortunately, the Conservatives, as usual, are looking for a way to score cheap partisan points. We are going to continue to govern responsibly.
Poilievre sticks with these points. Scandals, slush funds, handouts for Trudeau's buddies, they continue.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There's nothing cheap about losing $1 billion, Mr. Speaker. That's exactly why he's not worth the cost. He sees no problem throwing away $54 million on an ArriveCan app that didn't work and we didn't need and is now under criminal investigation. And now, 6 months after he learned of corruption, cronyism, and mismanagement in this billion-dollar fund, he has kept his hand-picked cronies in the position. Mr. Speaker, if he really thinks it's serious that this billion-dollar fund had so much corruption, why won't he fire the people running it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is a country of rules and laws, and that's why we need to make sure that we are doing proper investigations and ensuring appropriate consequences for any people involved in wrongdoing. This is how a country of laws and rules functions. Unfortunately, Conservatives are still choosing to make cheap partisan points on very serious issues, and we're going to continue to take these issues seriously.
Here, here.
It does seem today like Poilievre is making Trudeau earn his pay. Lots of questions. I've never seen him ask so many. This is the most.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The United Kingdom's Foreign Office has given travel advice to its citizens, which reads the following. The risk of terrorist attacks happening in Canada is very likely. End quote. Does the Prime Minister agree with the UK Foreign Office's assessment? And what is he doing to protect Canadians from such an attack?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has a robust and sophisticated process around determining levels of threats to Canadians. We elevated the level of threat back in 2012 to medium, and it stays there right now. We are continuing to make sure we're doing everything we possibly can to keep Canadians safe. We understand these are trying times around the world right now, but the best thing we can do as Canadians is stay true to our values, be respectful of one another, feel each other's pain, and be there to support through very difficult times of a rise in hatred, including Islamophobia and anti-Semitism.
The UK is saying that we have a high chance of a terrorist attack in Canada? That's not good. I'd like to hear more about that.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Terrorists are not interested in feeling other people's pain. They're interested in causing other people pain. And the UK Foreign Office has said, and I quote, "The risk of terrorist attacks happening in Canada is very likely," end quote. Yet the Canadian government rates that risk at medium. Why the difference?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, obviously I can't speak how other countries make their determinations on travel advisories, but I can say that the work is done daily in Canada to assess the threat level to Canadians and what can be communicated to keep them safe. We elevated the threat level to medium in 2014, Mr. Speaker, and it has remained at that level since. But every single day, we reevaluate and ensure that we are doing everything we can, privately and publicly, to keep Canadians safe.
Thank you.
The issue that I have with domestic security is that if the only thing that is keeping me safe is Trudeau's word, then I don't feel very safe. Poilievre, hit him up again.
And yet, if you simply read the UK Foreign Department's assessment of Canada, and I quote, "The risk of terrorist attacks happening in Canada is very likely," end quote, then there is a very serious risk, Mr. Speaker. Why did Canadians have to learn from a foreign government about an increasing threat of terrorism in Canada?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, once again, I can't speak to how the UK makes its determinations, but I certainly can say that in Canada we have top security agencies and officials who work daily to reassess the threat levels to Canadians. They are working every single day to keep Canadians safe, and will continue to keep Canadians informed on the best ways to keep safe, Mr. Speaker.
Here.
We try to save some of the best for last. Up next, Charlie Angus. He's an MP from Northern Ontario, James Bay Timmins, I think. He's also been around in Parliament since 2004. That's the same year as Poilievre. He's a really funny character. Check him out.
The Honourable Member from Timmins, James Bay.
The planet is on fire. So what is the difference between the Conservative leader's approach and the Prime Minister's? Well, the Conservative leader is a climate denier, and he would pull us out of the Paris Accord, whereas the Prime Minister is simply a denier of his global obligations, which is why we're not going to meet our 2030 targets. And the United Nations is pointing out that under this Prime Minister, Canada is planning a massive increase of oil and gas production. No wonder we are the worst country in the G7 for tackling emissions. So enough of the denial of facts. Where is that emissions cap?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know the honourable member to be a staunch advocate for the environment and a strong defender of more action against climate change, which is why I know it must have been extraordinarily difficult for him the other day to vote with the Conservatives against the most effective measure Canada has ever used to fight against climate change. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will continue to step up in the fight against climate change every single day while putting more money in the pockets of Canadians right across the country.
He went pretty hard at Charlie Angus there. I don't like that. He's one of my favorite clowns. Charlie Angus is relatable somehow? I don't know. What's weird is that what we've saved for the best, for last, this show, winds up being by the translators. Alan Reyes is back trying to break that Governor General story. We've been covering that here. Canadian politics. It's interesting. No one's covering this story. No one's looking at it. But Alan Reyes isn't letting it go.
L'honorable député de Richmond.
The honourable member for Richmond, Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, for weeks now, I've been asking questions about the Governor General's outrageous spending. Every time I get answers from ministers who feign offense and criticize reluctantly, but do nothing to change the ingrained culture of this institution. Meanwhile, GGs come and go, but the extravagant spending on meals, booze, luxury hotels, travel, and dry cleaning marches merrily along. So I ask the Prime Minister today, does his government intend to cut her $33 million budget? Because clearly, she doesn't seem to be able to manage taxpayers' money carefully and responsibly. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Governor General, Mary Simon, is an upstanding, humane, caring person, and she plays an important role in our society and democracy. We will continue to see to it that her spending is managed appropriately, but the fact is she has a very important role for the stability and future of our democracy.
Unfortunately, this concludes question period.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Pretty exciting episode of Question Period Canada. I've never seen Poilievre ask so many questions. I found it strange at the end I had to put in that translating bit, but that Alan Reyes story that he's trying to break about the Governor General and her crazy spending, it sounds like money laundering, but it's not being covered by the media. I don't know why they're not touching it. It's strange, not getting straight answers from the politicians. No surprise there. Anyhow, that's Canadian politics, right? Which we're trying to have fun with right here. So like and subscribe. We'll be back with lots more videos. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. I'm Ehren. This is QPC Canada. We'll catch you later. Have a great night.